as a series, since I love audition stories and I love how you got your stories. So if anyone likes to go first, be my guest. Or I could call on somebody. All right, Kevin.
Mine came along very interestingly. I was doing a show. First of all, I'd already been in Vancouver for like 3 years almost, because everything that I was doing was shooting there. And I had a show that Carlton Cuse helped develop, and then obviously ran, called The Returns. And there was a little bit of a bubble at the end as to whether or not we were going to go for another season. And so the timing actually kind of worked out just perfectly, because we notably got canceled. And so right after that, I had received a phone call saying there's this really interesting show that's unlike anything that we've done, or that not a lot of people have seen this style of show, called Lucifer, and they're interested in you. I think they'd already shot the pilot and already gotten picked up, and everything. So for one reason or another, something didn't work out with someone else. So we worked it out so that I could replace him. So I checked out. I saw the pilot, and the first thing I thought was, Tom Ellis. How do I know that name? How do I know that name? And I realized, I was like, oh yeah, that's the guy who beat me for the role in Rush. Let me see this. And I watched it, and I was like, fuck yeah, man. I want to work with this dude. And then that was like initially, like from the very beginning. And then as I watched the show, I started to see like sort of like there were so many multiple layers of it, of not just your like shiny, cool, I'm a badass fucking person, but there was the breadcrumbs of honesty and real story there. So I was like very fortunate, first of all, that show went away and was able to jump onto something like this. Cool. So that's how mine came about.
Right on. Aimee, how did you come on board?
I was actually doing a show called Rush Hour, which Warner Brothers was producing, that actually produces Lucifer. And right after that, I was up A Small World, Carlton Cuse and Guillermo del Toro, for a show called The Strain. And it was down to me and another girl. They're like, you just look too young. You didn't get it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, let's keep on this track of working with people like Guillermo, and he had such a good time, meeting you and all this stuff. And he's like, they're like, there's this role of a Latina scientist, but we kind of think you should stick to more like, the bigger kind of roles after working, doing Rush Hour and working with Guillermo. And I'm like, well, I really like this role. I've never seen a Latina scientist on TV, which is insane. And I think to this day, Ella remains one of only 2 Latina scientists on any show, which is mind-boggling to me. And I thought, you know what? I've never seen a professional Latina who's like a major goofball, doesn't lead with like her sexiness. She's not. Yeah. She's just really smartest person in the room, completely goofy, unapologetic about who she is, a major dork. And she just happens to be Latina, and she's a girl in STEM. And I thought, you know what? My gut is just saying I want to do this role. And the show had already been on for a year, so I was able to watch the full season. And I thought everyone was just incredibly talented. And I thought, I would love to join this team. And it was great. Everyone welcomed me with open arms. And it's like being the new kid at school and not knowing where to sit. So everyone was just extremely generous, and it's just been such a fun role, and I just haven't even looked back. I've just been so grateful.
Awesome, very good. DB, how about you?
I wish mine was a little bit more exciting. It was pretty straightforward. I mean, it was just a simple audition. It happened at the end. I think they were having a hard time finding. From what I heard, Len was having a hard time. Len Wiseman, who directed the pilot, was having a hard time finding this role. And I came in at the very, very end. I just auditioned and left. And the funny thing was, I think I heard like 1 or 2 days later that I had it, and they wanted to know if I could get to Fox Studios in the next 45 minutes. And at this time, I lived in the Valley. They were having a reading, so I had to grab all my stuff, jump in the car, race over there, run through the studio just in time to run into the reading as they were starting, because they had just made their decision minutes before the read through, and then wanted me to see if I could get there, which I think every actor knows what that means. I have to drop everything and run across town to desperately try to make this reading, to make sure that I can secure this part, and that was it.
Hey, as actors, we all wish we got everything our roles simply. So it may not be. You may think it's not a sunny story, but it's an envious one. Tricia, how did you come on board as the Big G?
Mine is a pretty simple story as well. Very nice.
Kitties.
It's nice that way when it's it was an offer. So I was aware of the show. I hadn't seen it yet, but I had come off of a show called Ascension, and I was reading some scripts when Lucifer was originally casting, and I was still under contract, so I couldn't do anything. But I remember reading the script and liking the script. Mom wasn't in it, of course, at that point. But when it came around a year later, and they, I don't know why they did, but they offered it to me. And so I went in and met with Ildy. And I remember actually Mike Costa, one of the writers, told me this afterwards. Of course, you're nervous when you go in. At least I am. I'm always nervous when you go in. I'm like, are they going to like my take? Am I dressed the right way? Or whatever. And I was a little lost, and I was running a little late, and this lovely gentleman helps me. He's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm looking for Lucifer. And he takes me up there. Anyway, it turns out he's one of the writers, and they had this whole joke with another writer, Chris Rafferty. He's like, I walked Tricia in and all this stuff, and here I was nervous about, am I going to make an impression? And he happened to walk me in, and Aimee and I started at the same time, so at least I had another newbie with me to join in.
Excellent. Tom, how about you?
I got a call from Joe. I got a heads up that he wanted to talk. I hadn't seen the show. I like to try to keep myself familiar with shows that come out each year. So I'd seen about 4 episodes of the first season of Lucifer. And I knew that it was a show that was smart. It was well executed. It was stylized, but also had this comedy. And you cared more about the characters, and you really cared about what they were doing as far as solving a crime. It was an easy conversation between Joe and I. Joe had seen every episode of Cómo, and he started telling me about this character. He goes, "You're going to be this character, but he's actually this character, but he's in another character." And I said, "Stop at the second character. I don't want to know the third until we get down the road, because that, for me as an actor, would be more fun." Because I went from a character before on Smallville who really didn't know anything, and then on Lucifer, I was going to play a character who was ahead of everyone. And there's a cat.
Yeah. Viewers, we have a special guest on this panel. Tricia, would you care to introduce us to our new guest?
But one of the other things I did is, as excited as I was with Joe, I called a buddy of mine, Greg Beeman, who had been on the show directing, and I said, "What do you think about me going on the show?" And he goes, "You're going to love everybody. They're all great. They're all talented, but they're also really cool. You'll get along with them," because he worked with me for like 8 years.
So he lied to you.
He totally lied to me. And I was just really happy to be invited and be a part of this family. And so thanks for letting me be here.
Absolutely. And Lesley-Ann, how did you come about?
Oh, mine was a very traditional story too. Well, in the similar way to Kevin, I had been on that hamster wheel of pilot season, and in the same week, so I auditioned for Lucifer. They put a pin in me, as we say it, and then I was simultaneously going out for other shows, and I actually got an offer to test for 2 other shows, and then including Lucifer. So in 1 week, I had 3 tests.
Oh.
But Lucifer was the first show that I had auditioned for, so they had, first dibs on me. And they were kind of going back and forth. I believe the network really, there was another actress who was cast, and they had worked with her before, and so they really wanted to have her. And so they released me, and I went and tested for the next show, didn't get it. Went and tested for the next show, didn't get it. So I had one of those, like, you know, like, what is life?
Up and down weeks.
Horrible. Just a horrible, like, I remember going to the third test and doing my makeup with tears streaming down my face, and my husband standing behind me going, it's okay, like, you're gonna be fine. And I'm like, I don't know, like, you know. And then nothing happened, and I was like, you know what, I did my best. And 2 weeks later I got a call, and in fact I'd called DB because him and I had worked together on another show, and I congratulated him on his casting. And I told him that I had, you know, auditioned for the Mazikeen role. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call saying, "Oh, so we want to reinstate your deal. It didn't work out with the other actress at the read-through." And
So DB cast you?
sorry?
So DB cast you?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
he said, "I don't know. I think I have a funny feeling you might be getting a call."
Yeah. After we had that reading.
Yes, and so I just, from that experience, like, that was such a great lesson, like, this whole, because, you know, it's a life changer, obviously, you know, and for me, I go, you never know what's going to happen in Hollywood. So I don't believe anything until I'm showing up and sitting in the chair, getting my makeup done, or standing in line for craft services. I'm like, I don't believe I got the job until I'm there. You know? Yeah.